Hello, and welcome back to Educator.com. So glad you're here. We're again in period 4, and this session, new forms of social organization and modes of production. One of those modes of labor is the Spanish labor, and we're calling it coerced labor because people are not voluntarily doing these things. So we might ask ourselves, coerced labor. Is that when your mom tells you have to clean your room? I don't know. It's a very serious issue, and when we look at the world today, we are against any kind of forced labor. So let's take a look at the forced labor that took place during this time and see why it happened and what was done about it. And with the Spanish, we have the hacienda system and the encomienda system. The hacienda, we still have, here in California, we still have haciendas. They are big, they were huge grants of land that the Spanish government made to certain peoples. And so therefore those lands could be properly controlled and used. So large lands grants, and then the encomienda system is forced labor. In other words, the people who happen to live on that land, or you can get to move onto that land, these people are like slaves to you. Why? Well, because the people who moved on to these haciendas had things that they wanted to accomplish, raising cattle, mining, whatever it was, and they needed labor. And the Indians didn't want to do it for nothing, or they didn't even want to do it. And so how do you get the work done? Well, the Spanish government said you can force them to work. And then thirdly, we have the introduction of African slaves. So we have 3 systems here, and I want to point out that these have some relationship to previous systems, but there's something about them that makes them quite different. These large land grants, this is the way it worked in Europe, wasn't it? The king would give a grant of land to someone, and that became his vassal, and had to supply him with military soldiers and so forth. So, something like that. But this is different. I'm giving you somebody else's land and telling you it's all yours. And the encomienda system says, I need this labor. Well, we have serfs, right? But by this time in Europe, the serfs are pretty much free serfs. In other words, if they decide they're going to light out on their own, they can, but not these Indians. So it's a different kind of system. And African slaves have existed, but not like this, not in this big of numbers and so far away from their homeland.